Trước khi bắt đầu, nếu bạn đang tìm kiếm sách để học IELTS hiệu quả, thì đây là những cuốn sách chúng mình khuyên dùng. Nó có thể giúp bạn đạt điểm IELTS từ 7.0 tới 8.0. Bạn hãy xem ở phần giỏ hàng trong kênh nhé.
Part 1. You will hear a customer calling a service center to replace a refill card.
Meridian Card Services, you're speaking with Nia. How may I assist you today?
Hi, I'm calling because I need to replace my refill card. It still has credit on it, but it isn't working anymore.
I'm sorry to hear that. Just to confirm, is the card missing or is it cracked?
It's cracked. The plastic split near the barcode, and now the scanner can't read it at all.
I understand. In that case, I can arrange a replacement card for you. Because it's cracked rather than lost, there's no charge for the card itself, but there will be a delivery handling fee. Before we organize that, may I take your surname, please?
Yes, it's Dorsey.
Thank you. And can I check your first name as well?
Kellen.
Great. Now, I'll need the card number from the front. Please read it as one number without pauses.
Sure, it's 804-177-926.
Perfect. And a contact phone number, again as one number, so the courier can reach you if needed.
Yes, that's 07944-630-118.
Thank you. Now, where would you like the replacement delivered? Home or workplace?
Home, please.
No problem. What's your flat number?
16.
And the building name?
Mallow.
Thank you. And the postcode, please say it without a space.
NE35QT.
Great. Deliveries are made on weekdays only, and someone must be available to sign for the package. Which date would suit you best?
Friday the 12th would be ideal. I'm usually out on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Friday the 12th of April is available, so I'll book that for you. The handling fee is £6.50. Are you happy to pay that today?
Yes, that's fine.
Thanks. We'll also transfer any remaining balance. Do you know roughly how much is left on the old card?
About £18.
That's helpful. Once you activate the new card, the balance will be moved across automatically. One last thing, your account has auto refill enabled. Would you like to keep the trigger at £5?
Yes, please keep it at 5.
Excellent. You'll receive a text message shortly confirming the replacement details.
Perfect. Thanks for your help.
You're welcome. Have a nice day.
Part 2. You will hear a guide explaining an art route inside an exhibition building.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Exhibition Centre. Before you start, I'd like to explain the route using the map in front of you so you can move around the building easily. The building is rectangular with the main entrance at the bottom of the map. When you come in, walk straight ahead along the central path, which runs through the middle of the building. About halfway along, another corridor crosses from left to right, dividing the exhibition area into 6 rooms. Most visitors spend around 40 minutes completing the full route, although it can take a little longer if you decide to join some of the practical activities. Before I describe the rooms, I should mention photography. Some artists do not allow photos of their work, so pictures are permitted in only 2 rooms. These are the textile loft and the lightbox gallery. In all other rooms, please keep cameras and phones away and never use flash anywhere in the building. If you want the easiest route, we suggest starting in the print studio because it is the room closest to the entrance. Also, a quick practical point, the toilets are on the right-hand side near the clay lab, close to the entrance, so they should be easy to find. Now let's look at the rooms in order. When you first enter the building, you'll see 2 larger activity spaces, one on each side near the entrance. On the left-hand side, you'll find the print studio, where visitors can try simple printing techniques and take their work home. On the right-hand side, near the entrance, is the clay lab. This is a hands-on space where people can experiment with clay and make small objects. It can get messy, so please wash your hands afterwards. If you continue further into the building, just above these two rooms, are two smaller spaces beside the central path. On the left side of the corridor, you'll come to the sound nook, where you can listen to a short audio piece linked to the exhibition. Directly opposite it, on the right-hand side, is the sketch room, where local artists offer quick portrait sketches. If there is a queue, please stand close to the wall so the corridor stays clear. At the top of the building are two gallery rooms. In the top left corner is the textile loft, which displays fabric pieces and wall hangings, and there is also a short demonstration there once an hour. Finally, in the top right corner, you'll find the Lightbox Gallery, which contains photographic works and small animated projections. This is usually a quiet room, so please speak softly while you are inside. If you need drinking water, there's a water table at the corridor crossing in the center of the building. If you lose anything during your visit, please return to the entrance desk, where a member of staff will help you. Enjoy the exhibition.
Bạn đang nghe podcast miễn phí tại IELTS. Nếu bạn yêu quý kênh, hãy ủng hộ chúng mình ở phần mô tả nha.
Part 3. You will hear two students discussing visualizations for a report.
Soren, before we submit the report, I think we should carefully review the visualizations again. The tutor emphasized that we must justify our choices and clearly explain the reasons for selecting each chart, rather than simply describing what they show.
I agree. Perhaps we should begin by discussing the benefits. In my opinion, the most important advantage of a strong visualization is that it allows the reader to recognize the main pattern very quickly. Most people do not have time to read long sections of text.
That is true. If someone can understand the key message within a few seconds, then the visualization is effective. Otherwise, readers may ignore it.
Another major benefit is that clear visuals improve trust in the report. When the axes are labeled correctly and the data is presented honestly, the audience is more likely to believe the findings.
Yes, I completely agree. Therefore, the two most important benefits are speed of understanding and increased trust. We do not need charts to be artistic or decorative.
Exactly. Now we should consider what is necessary for a visualization to be successful.
Firstly, the title must clearly state the message of the chart. Instead of using a vague title such as Results, it should describe the main finding. For example, cycling trips increased at weekends.
That makes sense. In addition, I think we should show uncertainty whenever possible. This could be done by using ranges or adding a note explaining that the figures are estimates.
Yes, that would help the audience to make informed decisions and understand the limits of the data.
Now let us evaluate the 6 visualizations included in the report.
The first one is the stacked area chart that shows daily cycling trips. I find this chart difficult to interpret. Although the total number of trips is clear, the middle section is very hard to compare over time.
I agree. While it shows overall change, the middle values are confusing and difficult to follow. Therefore, we should say that it is hard to compare the middle values.
The second visual is the dot plot for average trip length. This chart is clear and simple.
Yes, it is easy to read and looks professional. We can describe it as well-designed.
The third visual is the heat map showing station use by hour. The idea is useful, but the legend is not clear enough.
That is true. The colors are difficult to interpret because the legend is too small. We should say that the legend needs improvement.
The fourth visual is the flow diagram of common cycling routes. I find this chart very confusing.
So do I. There are too many lines, which makes it difficult to follow the paths. We can therefore describe it as too confusing.
The fifth visual is the before and after bar chart about car ownership. This chart is very persuasive.
Yes, it strongly supports our argument. However, the beta is self-reported, so we should warn the reader. We can say that it is convincing, but needs a warning.
The final visual is the lollipop chart for maintenance costs. It is very quick to read.
However, it is not particularly interesting. We can describe it as quick to read, but not very interesting.
That covers all the charts. I think we are now ready to write this section of the report.
Yes, and we can clearly explain the purpose of each visualization.
Part 4. You will hear a lecturer talking about kelp forest restoration and why some projects succeed.
Today, we're looking at kelp forest restoration. Kelp forests are made by large brown seaweeds that grow in cool, nutrient-rich coastal waters. If you imagine a forest on land, you picture tall trees and a canopy. Kelp does something similar underwater. It forms an underwater habitat, a tall structure that creates shade, slows water movement, and provides shelter. Many young fish hide among the fronds, and many small animals feed on tiny particles that collect there. So when kelp disappears, the coastline loses a whole living system, not just one plant. Why do kelp forests decline? In different places, the causes vary, but there are a few common patterns. One major cause is the loss of predators. In a healthy system, predators, such as large fish and lobsters, keep grazing animals under control. But when predators are removed by fishing, sea urchins can increase quickly. Urchins graze kelp, especially young kelp, and they can turn a kelp forest into what scientists call an urchin barren, meaning mostly rock with very little kelp left. Another cause is poor water clarity. Kelp needs light. If water becomes cloudy, less light reaches the kelp and growth slows. One way water becomes cloudy is when there are more particles in the water from runoff or coastal disturbance. Scientists often measure this as turbidity, which is basically how clear the water is. If turbidity rises, kelp may struggle to recover even if other conditions are good. A third cause is warming. Marine heat waves are periods when the sea stays unusually warm for longer than normal. Kelp species have a temperature limit. If water stays above that limit, kelp becomes stressed and may die. Even if kelp survives, it may produce fewer spores, so recovery is slow. So how do we restore kelp forests? The first step is diagnosis, or, in simple terms, finding out what is happening at a specific site. Teams go underwater and survey. A common method is photo quadrats. Divers place a square frame on the seabed, take a photo, and later count kelp, urchins, and other species in the image. This is useful because it creates a permanent record, and different people can check the same photo. Once a team understands the problem, they can choose restoration methods. One method that has become popular is called green gravel. In a hatchery, small stones are seeded with kelp sporophytes, which are the tiny early life stage of kelp. When the kelp begins growing on the stones are taken to the reef and scattered onto areas of bare rock. The idea is simple. Each stone is like a little starter unit that can grow into a new plant. Another approach focuses on local adaptation. Kelp from one bay may not do well in another bay, even if they are close, because conditions differ. For that reason, some projects collect reproductive tissue from local adult kelp. This tissue produces spores in controlled tanks, and the young kelp is then raised before being planted back at the same coastline. Using local parents can improve survival and helps keep genetic variety. But planting alone is not enough if the pressure stays. If urchins are still too common, the new kelp will be eaten. So many projects also remove urchins. Sometimes divers remove them by hand. In other cases, managers try to support the return of predators through protected areas. These actions can take time, but they help restore balance. Timing matters too. Teams often plant during seasons with cooler water and calmer seas. Calm seas reduce physical stress on new kelp. Large waves can pull young plants off the rock before they anchor well. So many projects choose days and seasons with calmer seas. Now, how do we know if restoration has succeeded? A basic measure is simply kelp present, but that can be misleading because a few plants might appear and then disappear again. Better metrics include canopy area, meaning how much surface area the kelp canopy covers, and species richness, meaning the number of different species that return. If fish, small grazers, and predators return, it suggests the habitat is rebuilding. Finally, many projects fail because they lack long-term monitoring. Funding often pays for the first planting, but not for the follow-up surveys over years. Without monitoring, teams cannot learn what worked, and they cannot respond after storms or heat waves. So when you evaluate a kelp project, always ask whether it includes long-term monitoring and a plan for continued care, not just a one-time planting event.
Bạn đang nghe podcast miễn phí tại IELTS. Nếu bạn yêu quý kênh, hãy ủng hộ chúng mình ở phần mô tả nha.